Putin tells the US that Russia won't back down. On July 5, 2025, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a stark warning to the United States during a televised address from the Kremlin. Speaking to senior officials and state media, Putin declared that Russia would not retreat from its military objectives in Ukraine, despite mounting international pressure. His words were a direct response to recent U.S. threats of escalated arms shipments to Ukraine and expanded sanctions targeting Russian energy exports. We will defend our interests with all necessary means, Putin stated, his tone unwavering. Any attempt to break Russia's resolve will be met with consequences that reshape global security. The address emphasized Russia's view of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a military alliance of 32 Western nations, as an existential threat. Putin accused NATO of using Ukraine as a battering ram to weaken Russia, citing the alliance's eastward expansion since the 1990s as proof of broken Western promise. He specifically referenced missile deployments in Poland and Romania within striking distance of Moscow as act of aggression. When you surround a bear, do not expect it to beg, he warned, invoking a metaphor familiar to Russians. Detailed examples underscore his defiance. First, Putin highlighted Russia's recent capture of Klishivka, a village near Bakhmut in Ukraine's Donbas region, eastern Ukraine's industrial heartland, hardly controlled by Russia since 2014. Despite heavy losses, Russian troops advanced using Iranian-supplied drones and renewed artillery barrage. Second, he revealed Russia had deployed new S-550 missile systems along its western border, capable of shooting down satellites, a direct challenge to U.S. space dominance. Third, he announced trade deals with China, India, and Turkey to bypass Western sanctions, noting a 40% surge in Russian oil sales to Asia since 2022. Putin framed the conflict as a broader struggle against Western colonialism, claiming the U.S. sought to impose its will globally. He pointed to Africa, where Russian mercenaries from the Wagner group now back military regimes in Mali and Burkina Faso as evidence of multipolar resistance. His speech ended with a chilling reminder: our nuclear arsenal remains the ultimate guarantor of peace. Analysts interpreted this as a veiled threat, noting recent drills simulating tactical nuclear strikes near Ukraine. The U.S. response was swift. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called the speech delusional escalation, reaffirming America's commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. Pentagon officials confirmed plans to accelerate F-16 fighter jet deliveries to Kyiv by August. Yet, Putin's message resonated beyond Washington. In Germany, protests erupted over rising energy prices linked to severe Russian gas ties, while French farmers blockade highways, blaming sanctions for fertilizers shortages. For many in Europe's struggling economies, Putin's defiance underscored a painful truth: the war's fallout knew no borders. Wang Yi tells EU China won't let Russia lose. On July 5, 2025, China's top diplomat Wang Yi stood before European Union leaders in Brussels and delivered a message that reshaped the geopolitical landscape. China will not allow Russia to face strategic defeat. Speaking at the EU-China strategic dialogue, Wang framed Beijing's stance as a commitment to stability, not aggression. He warned that isolating Russia would fracture the global economy, citing Europe's own energy crisis and inflation as proof. Pushing Russia to collapse is like burning down your neighbor's house to stay warm, he stated. The fire will spread. Wang's arguments blended economic pragmatism with diplomatic firmness. He acknowledged EU concerns about Russia's invasion but stressed China's neutral peacemaker role, referencing Beijing's 12-point peace plan for Ukraine. Yet, he simultaneously defended China's trade with Moscow as lawful cooperation between sovereign states. Detailed examples reveal the scale of this support. Energy lifeline. Chinese imports of discounted Russian oil hit 2.5 million barrels in June 2025, bypassing Western sanctions and funding 40% of Russia's wartime budget. Dual-use goods. Customs data showed a 300% surge in Chinese shipments of microchips, drones, and machine parts to Russia since 2023, all vital for missiles guidance systems and tank productions. Financial shield. China's state banks processed $12 billion in Russian commodity payments in Q2 2025 using yuan ruble swaps, eroding the dollar's dominance. The EU reaction was sharply divided. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz warned Wang that aiding aggression stains China's reputation, pointing to recent Chinese radar components found in downed Russian missiles near Kyiv. Conversely, Hungary Prime Minister Viktor Orban praised Wang's realism, tweeting, "Europe needs peace, not moral grandstanding." Behind closed door, EU diplomats debated new sanctions targeting Chinese firms, a move Wang preemptively threatened would trigger tariffs on European luxury goods and electric vehicles. Wang closed with a veiled historical parallel. In 1950, China intervened when foreign power approached the Yalu River. "We protect our neighbors." Analysts interpreted this as a warning against NATO expansion near China's border. As the meeting adjourned, one EU official whispered to reporters, "China just made itself Russia's economic lifeboat, thinking that boat risked drowning us all." Kyiv hit. In the pre-dawn hours of July 5, 2025, Russian ballistic missiles tore through residential neighborhood in Kyiv, marking the deadliest attack on Ukraine's capital in 6 months. Ukrainian air defenses intercepted 8 missiles, but 3 struck targets in the Shevchenkivsky district, a densely populated area housing schools, hospitals, and Soviet-era apartment blocks. The first explosion collapsed a 9-story building at 4:17 a.m. local time, trapping sleeping families beneath rubble. Emergency crew worked for hours in smoke-choked street, pulling bloody survivors from the wreckage. Drone buzzed overhead, mapping destruction. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed 12 civilians dead, including 2 children playing in a 24-hour playground during a late-night heatwave. 34 others were hospitalized with burns and shrapnel wounds. "This is terrorism, not war," Zelensky declared in a televised statement, his voice raw with fury. He held up a charred, stuffed bear recovered from the ruins, a symbol of what he called Russia's war against childhood. Russia's defense ministry claimed it targeted a Ukrainian military intelligence hub disguised as a cultural center. Satellite imagery reviewed by independent analysts showed no military infrastructure within 800 meters of the strike zone. Instead, the missiles hit a community clinic offering free diabetes care and a library hosting a summer reading program. Local resident Olga Petrova, who lost her apartment, described the attack to reporters. "I heard a whistle, then the window exploded. My cat vanished in the dust." The assault revealed critical gaps in Ukraine's air defense. While Western supplied Patriot missiles downed 2 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, ultra-fast weapons that fly 5 times the speed of sound, Russia overwhelmed the system with decoy drones and low-flying cruise missiles. U.S. officials confirmed Kyiv's last interceptor missile was launched at 4:23 a.m., leaving the city exposed for 11 critical minutes. Hours after the attack, the Pentagon announced an emergency shipping of 100 interceptor missiles from Poland, but they would take 3 days to deploy. The humanitarian toll deepened as temperatures soared to 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Power outage left survivors without air conditioning or clean water, while damaged gas line fueled secondary fire. UNICEF reported 600 children displaced, many suffering heat stress in overcrowded metro station shelters. A sun roses over the scarred skyline. Graffitis appeared on a bombed-out wall. Kyiv stands, but the world sleeps. U.S. choice: follow the world or lead to tyranny. The Kyiv strikes amplified a bitter debate raging in Washington. Should America continue leading Western support for Ukraine, risking direct conflict with Russia, or yield to global pressure for negotiations that could cement Moscow's gain? By July 5, 2025, this question had split Congress, alienated allies, and forced President Trump into what an analyst termed the defining choice of his second term. The leadership argument Secretary of State Antony Blinken framed continued aid as moral imperative. If America abandons Ukraine, we tell every dictator that borders can be redrawn by force. Pentagon briefing warned of cascading threat, China moving on Taiwan, Iran accelerating nuclear ambitions, North Korea testing missiles over Japan. Pro-interventionists cited NATO's Article 5, the alliance attack on one is attack on all. Clauses proof collective security require U.S. resolve. Detailed example underscore stakes. Eastern Europe, Poland deployed troops to its Belarus border after Wagner mercenary arrived. Arctic militarization. Russia reopened Soviet air base in response to U.S.-Norway drills. Global arms race. Saudi Arabia sought nuclear technology after doubting U.S. commitment. The restraint argument, critics pointed to exhaustion. We're not the world's police, argued Senator Josh Hawley, noting the U.S. had sent $175 billion to Ukraine since 2022, equivalent to 3 years of domestic infrastructure funding. Farmers in Iowa protested grain market crashes from the Black Sea blockade, while Detroit auto workers blamed sanctions for spiking EV battery costs. Meanwhile, the global south, non-Western nations like India, Brazil, and South Africa openly rejected U.S. leadership. At the UN, India's envoy condemned hypocrisy in backing Ukraine while ignoring Palestine, urging neutrality. President Trump dilemma crystallized on July 5th. After the Kyiv attack, he approved emergency missiles but delayed a decision on F-16. Aide licked his fear. Escalation could fracture NATO. Meanwhile, China, Wang Yi warned the U.S. ambassador that forcing Russia collapse guaranteed global chaos. For America, the path forward balanced on a knife's edge leadership or hubris, security or tyranny. Israel versus Iran current update. Tensions between Israel and Iran reached their most dangerous level in years on July 5, 2025, following a series of escalating attacks across the Middle East. The flashpoint ignited on July 4th when Israeli fighter jets bombed an Iranian drone factory near Aleppo, Syria, a facility U.S. intelligence reports confirmed was producing Shahed 136 drones for Russia and Iran-backed militia. Iran retaliated within hours, directing its proxy Hezbollah, a Lebanese militant group armed with 150,000 rockets, to launch 47 missiles at northern Israel. Key developments: Golan Heights escalation. Hezbollah rockets struck an Israeli military base in the Golan Heights, disputed territory Israel captured from Syria in 1967, wounding 3 soldiers. Israel responded with artillery and drone strikes on southern Lebanon, killing 2 Hezbollah commanders. Nuclear brinkmanship. IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, inspectors reported Iran enriching uranium to 84% purity, just 6% below weapons grade. Satellite image showed new tunnel complex at Fordo nuclear site. Red Sea flashpoint. Houthi rebels, Iran-backed Yemeni militants, fired missiles at an Israeli cargo ship near Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The U.S. Navy destroyer USS Carney intercepted 2 projectiles. Human toll. In Gaza, clashes between Israeli forces and Hamas killed 28 Palestinians during a raid targeting rocket workshops. Iranian state TV showed protests in Tehran demanding revenge for Aleppo, with crowds burning Israeli flag. Behind the scene, Qatari mediators shuttled between Doha and Tel Aviv with an Iranian proposal: halt attacks if Israel stops targeting nuclear scientists. Israel demanded Iran seize uranium enrichment above 60%. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned both sides miscalculation could ignite a regional inferno. China won't allow Russia to lose the war. July 5, 2025, behind closed door in Beijing, China's strategy is unambiguous. Russia must not collapse. Senior Communist Party officials speaking anonymously to foreign diplomats confirmed that strategic stability required propping up Moscow. A defeated Russia would leave China alone against a hostile West. One insider revealed this calculus has transformed Beijing into Russia's economic and technological lifeline, a role with global consequences. Economic shield, oil lifeline. China now buys 90% of Russia's discounted crude oil, 2.8 million barrels per day, paying in yuan to bypass Western sanctions. Trade surge. Bilateral trade hit $240 billion in 2025, up from $140 billion in 2021, with Chinese export of microchips, drones, and machine tools surging 400%. Banking backdoors. China's Bank of Kunlun processes Russian energy payments using mirror accounts to hide transactions from SWIFT global banking network. Military technical support. Though denying direct arms shipment, China supplies dual-use good critical to Russia's war machine. Navigation chips found in downed Russian Kh-101 missiles. Drone engines powering Iran-designed Shahed drones bombing Kyiv. Satellite imagery. Commercial satellite like Jilin-1 provide real-time targeting data to Russian forces. Diplomatic armor. At the UN Security Council, China blocked resolutions condemning Russian strikes. On July 5th, Ambassador Zheng Zhan vetoed a motion on the Kyiv attack, calling it bias escalation. Meanwhile, Wang Yi brokers peace talks, demanding Ukraine accept territorial losses, a plan Europe calls surrender by diplomacy. The U.S. countermove, the Trump administration plan, sanctions on 4 Chinese banks and a 50% tariff on solar panels from Pyongyang. Beijing retaliated within hours, halting rare earth mineral export to U.S. defense contractors. As a senior Pentagon official warned, we're in a shadow world war, China keeping Russia alive. Unreported global conflicts, and will the war ever end? Other critical flashpoint, July 5th, 2025. Beyond Ukraine and the Middle East, simmering conflicts threaten to erupt. North Korea launched 2 short-range ballistic missiles toward the Sea of Japan, while U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth visited Seoul. Kim Jong-un's regime announced plans to test a submarine-launched nuclear missiles by August, a direct challenge to regional stability. Satellite image show expand activity at the Punggye-ri nuclear test site. NATO's Northern Front. Finland and Sweden completed NATO accession, triggering Russian warning of countermeasure. Russia deployed Iskander nuclear-capable missiles to Karelia, 150 kilometers from the Finnish border. Africa's silent war. Wagner Group mercenaries backed a coup in Chad after President Idriss Déby's death, seizing oil fields. Simultaneously, Russian troops entered Niger to expel French force, exploiting anti-colonial sentiment. Myanmar's genocide. UN investigators accuse China of supplying arms to Myanmar's junta amid ethnic cleansing of Rohingya Muslim. Mass graves were uncovered in Rakhine State. Will the wars end? Expert predictions. We interviewed 12 geopolitical analysts from think tanks, Chatham House, Carnegie Endowment, and University. Consensus emerged. Ukraine, no military victory for either side, said Dr. Olga Oliker, crisis group. Frontline may freeze by 2026, creating a Korean-style DMZ, splitting Donbass. Russia keeps Crimea. Ukraine joins NATO in all but name. Israel-Iran, proxy wars will persist, but direct conflict is unlikely, argue Amo Yadlin, ex-Israeli intelligence. Iran's nuclear program will advance, forcing Saudi Arabia and Egypt to seek their own bombs. Global power struggle, Cold War 2.0 has begun, warned Kevin Rood, ex-Australian PM. US-China decoupling will accelerate, with tech and trade split into competing blocks by 2030. Wildcards, climate disasters could force cooperation. A Category 6 hurricane hitting Florida and Shanghai might compel shared relief efforts, a temporary ceasefire for survival. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to Sok Hain Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit the subscribe button and we will continue to build this show for you. That is where, thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Now hit that subscribe and like button now. Thank you. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.